Welcome to our podcast. This is another recorded episode of Stay Classy San Diego, with video production and studio provided by MaxLux Media, sponsored by Dorada Nutrition, with your host being myself, Steve Wire, a freelance reporter. This podcast is dedicated to fostering quality dialogue surrounding all things local policy related in North County, San Diego. Join us weekly as we interview political leaders, analysts, professionals, and community members on issues ranging from homelessness to housing density to elections. So in today's episode, we have Josh Hoffman. Josh is the CEO and founder of LGNDRY Group. Hoffman has been in the nightlife hospitality industry for over a decade and founded his company, LGNDRY, with the vision to elevate the nightlife experience in the city of San Diego. You can find more on legendarygroup.com if you want more information. Josh Hoffman held the position of Director of Five Marketing and Management Incorporated, Five Group, from 2013 until 2023, with a focus on marketing and management in the hospitality, entertainment, and nightlife scene. Five Group was affiliated with some of San Diego's top nightclubs, such as Park, Restaurant Nightclub, and Omnia Nightclub. Five Group also created Horizon Music Festival in San Diego, which has previously featured headliners such as Tiesto. Since founding LGNDRY in May of 2023, Hoffman and his company have continued to have partnered with Park, as well as the likes of Oxford, Bloom, and the Hard Rock Hotel. For his education, Josh actually attended San Diego State University from 2006 to 2010, majoring in business management. Josh grew up in Burlingame, California, and has worked in the nightlife industry since 2013. So, Josh, thanks so much for coming on the show, first of all.
Thank
really
you so much
appreciate
for having
having you.
me.
This is honestly a treat for me. I wanted to get right into some questions here. So, first of all, you founded the company in May. Tell us a bit about that. How did that come about? What was the impetus for founding the company? What was that transition like for you? And yeah, where are you at now?
Absolutely. So kind of like you said, I've been in the nightlife hospitality industry for about a decade now and really learned so much with my past business. And I was with the company for the entire 10 years after college and learned from so many great people and met so many awesome people that really picked all their brains and really got the know-how and the knowledge of how the industry works. And, it came to a point, although I had a great position and, a stable job, that I really wanted to build something for myself. I wanted to build a future for myself and really see where I could take things if I was at the helm. So, with the support of like my close friends and especially my girlfriend was really supportive. It's obviously a difficult thing to leave a stable job to go in the unknown, but I was confident that, with my know-how and the support around me, I could make it happen.
Absolutely. So, I mean, what were the kind of the preceding months building up to that looking like? I mean, I'm sure that there was a lot of hard work that went into the day where you announced LGNDRY Group that that you guys came onto the scene. Like, what was that build up like?
Yeah, so I mean, it was a lot of internal struggle. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have dealt with that, and I feel like a lot of the times that's a big barrier for people is a fear of what's going to happen when I do this. Will I fail? Stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of times people get stopped or blocked from chasing their dreams because of that internal voice in their head. But I just really powered through it. I believed in myself and the team around me, and really strategically planned to align with my relationships. And I think the one thing that's really important in nightlife is relationships, and in most businesses in general. But nightlife is very social. You got to be friends and network and be really close to the people that you're working with, because at any given time things can change. They can go in different directions. So that's kind of like who they would like to work with. And, if you build that relationship where they trust you and you're providing, great value, that's where your company can be successful.
Sure. So I know it's only been a couple months now, but can you give us an idea of sort of where you want to take this company? I mean, the mission statement is, elevating the nightlife experience in the city of San Diego, but can you tell us a bit more in detail what that looks like to you? Like, what are some of the accomplishments that you're hoping to hit along the way? What does success look like for you for this company?
Great. So we started on May 4th, actually, and since then we locked in 6 different deals and contracts with some of the top nightclubs and venues. So we currently have 6 events every week. So it's not like one event a month, but it's like every single week we have 6 different events. So I have an awesome team of 30 VIP marketing hosts, director of promotions Chase Egan, and operations manager Steven Bajornia, and a lot of other really awesome team members with LGNDRY, and they really help me carry the weight of producing on 6 events every week is kind of a lot.
Yeah.
So, but that's just in the interim. In the next few months, I just want to get through really crushing those 6 weekly events every week, and then from there, we're looking at next year, but putting on our own festivals as well.
Sure. What will that look like? Like, what kind of festivals are we talking about?
Music festivals, and then I have some other things that I'm planning on working on, so can't really discuss all of that just yet. And I like to kind of not announce it before it's done, but we'll definitely be in touch, and I'll keep you in the loop on that.
All right, excited to look forward to it. So can you tell us a bit about, like, rewinding, like, your journey in terms of, like, 2013, you sort of started in the nightlife scene. Like, what did that look like? Like, how did you get started in this industry? And for people, I'm always trying to, give an application to people who may have been in your situation at some point in time.
Yeah.
Like, how did you succeed? Like, how did you sort of rise up the ladder?
Yeah, so back in college at SDSU, I really had a big social network. I went out a lot with friends and kind of knew a lot of people on campus and off campus, and an opportunity came about for me to help promote with one of the top nightlife companies in San Diego. I think it was through mutual friends. And I took that opportunity while in school. I really ran with it. It was paying all my bills and some. And it was fun. You got to go out, network, go to cool events. Like, I remember getting to see Drake at Stingery years and years ago when I was in college. So it was really fun. I just was like, felt like it was my calling to, be in the hospitality industry. And I really enjoyed bringing people together. And even since I was a kid, I was always bringing people out, getting all of our friends together to come out. So yeah, I really just ran with it. And I ended up working for the same company for the last 10 years up until May. Okay. So how I was successful doing it, I really feel like is the relationships thing I was speaking about. Treating people how you want to be treated goes really far. I feel like you'll come across some, characters in this industry that may not have the highest integrity and so on and so forth. So, being integrous and treating the people you want to be treated is really important.
Absolutely. So you were a promoter for the full 10 years, or
no?
You were
so I started out as a promoter, and I quickly rose to become an operations manager, and then tail end the last 4 or 5 years of Five Group, I was the director of Nightlife.
Okay. All right. So can you tell us about, as much as you want, just in terms of the experience of directing at Five Group, how that sort of influences your approach as an entrepreneur now, your strategies in terms of the way that you're building the company, like how that experience is valuable for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So Five Group originally had 5 owners, and they each had their unique skill sets, different personalities, and they were all really the top of their field when they merged together to create Five Group. So I really had 5 older brothers that were mentors to me over the past 10 years that, each person I would learn, from one person, strategic planning for events, one person, relationships and management with that kind of side of things. Another one would be, the music side of things and artist and talent booking. And another one would be the numbers and, the finances of how to run a business. So I really feel like I had the best situation to learn from some really amazing entrepreneurs. And, I took all of that information and ran with it with Legendary Group.
Awesome. Well, speaking of that, so I'm curious to know, sort of what because when you start a company, I think every time, and again, I'm not a successful entrepreneur myself, but in terms of starting a company, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, you're sort of trying to fill a space in the market that exists. You're sort of filling a gap, as it were. So when talk about us through the idea of you're looking at San Diego nightlife and you're sort of seeing an opportunity to do something more. What was that process like for you? How did you sort of see a chance to fill the gap with Legendary Group?
Absolutely. So, the restaurant and nightclub industry has a high turnover rate, as I'm sure you're aware. It's really difficult for restaurants and nightclubs to maintain success for long periods of time. That's why we see restaurants, open for a year or two and then close, or a nightclub open up for 6 months and then they're not doing well and they have to close. So where our company comes in is we partner with the venue and we try and help maximize their revenue and their top line through marketing, social media, email. I have a team of 30 VIP marketing hosts that help promote the events, bring people through the doors, sell VIP tables, so on and so forth. So a lot of the venues are looking for us to help fill the gap of we need to increase our sales. Where can we increase our sales? And a lot of the times it's from, we need an extra 200 people through the door and we just sell 5 more of our VIP tables at every event, and that'll help hit us to our revenue goals. So we partner with them to, really take their venues to the next level.
Sure, absolutely. That makes sense. Now, I sort of touched on it earlier when we were talking about, what allowed you to be successful. But again, just for aspiring entrepreneurs, people who are sort of looking to maybe enter this industry, who have questions, who are maybe unsure themselves, what sort of advice, I guess, would you give somebody who was in a situation not too unlike yourself at one point, and like sort of what the road to success looks like in this industry now, and specifically in San Diego.
Are you speaking more in terms of starting their own business, or are you saying to get your foot in the door?
People who are interested in kind of the entrepreneurial aspect of nightlife.
So I feel really strongly that there's many people out there that have great ideas and something that they're passionate about, but really people get hung up on being scared of the what ifs, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if I do this and leave my stable job, what if it fails?
Sure.
And it's, for some people, it's a roadblock that they can't get past, and for some people, like you got to push through it, and then you'll really see the rewards of all that kind of like positive stuff you were looking for in your life on the other side of it. So my advice would be to follow your dreams and make a plan and stick to it. Really don't talk about what you're planning on doing with other people until you do it, because people just get in the way of what you want to do and the way you want to do it. And to have a strong support system around you and really leverage that to get you through the what ifs and all that. So
yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting because I know some of your VIP hosts, some of the people who work for you, mm-hmm. and they all like speak of you with a lot of respect. They all speak of you in terms of a very upstanding person, not just as a great businessman, but also as a great guy. And I'm just curious, awesome. Like sort of. You mentioned, I think you kind of already mentioned the answer earlier when you're talking about building respect, treating people how you want to be treated. But sort of how do you you mentioned that there's some not so great characters in nightlife, and mm-hmm. there's some great people that you'll meet along the way. Sort of how did you navigate those personalities, the sort of the pressures of nightlife? Like how did that look like? I'm sure that wasn't easy all the time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you work with thousands of different people over 10 years in the nightlife space, and there's certain personalities that you really have to work around. Like, some people want to be direct and like get direct answers. Some people want like certain different things like out of a conversation when you're talking about how the night's going or something like that, or what our plans are. I always just try to be 100% organized on my end and transparent, and communicate like early in advance with everything that's going on, and that really helps with my relationship with them. I think some of the feedback that some of the venues that I've worked with is, the organization is super important, and professionalism, and I feel like some of that might get lost in the nightlife scene when people are, out and drinking and so on and so forth. So sure. I think, maintaining your professionalism and organization is really important.
Sure, and I think, well, switching topics a bit, I think one big elephant in the room that we'd be remiss in not addressing is the fact that just a few years ago, there was a major world catastrophe that changed nightlife, I would say, like forever.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about COVID,
yeah.
And specifically, there was a period of time in California, and depending on which state people are in, but in California specifically, since that's where our audience is, like there was a specific period of time where nothing was open, everything was closed down. Obviously, devastating to business owners, devastating to the nightlife scene. But what was sort of the takeaway from that? Like, how did things change coming out of that? Like, was it just sort of like, okay, we're back to normal, we're back to the way things were, or what was different?
Yeah, so that honestly was a crazy time for everybody, but I feel like the event space in general got hit really, really hard because for events, we were the last ones to come back after COVID. Like, when people started going back to work, people still could not go to social gatherings, events, all the festivals were shut down. Nightclubs and bars and restaurants were pretty much closed, slowly moved towards outdoor dining with restaurants. But I feel like the nightclubs and the festivals are the last ones to come back. So our business got completely shut down the entirety of COVID, and then even after everything was coming back, like I said. So it was really hard to not know what the future was for entertainment and the event space, and if it was ever going to come back. And, there were thoughts in my head at that time, like, well, maybe I need to switch careers and so on and so forth. But, I just kind of waited it out because I felt so passionate about, the event space that I didn't want to give up on it. And I felt like things would return to somewhat normal eventually. And, they slowly did, but it kind of was like a slowly, little by little thing, like creeping up. Some venues started opening, some people were coming back. Some venues, were trying to do it independently without any, partners like our company. So it was a long road back, but I'd say we're back to full force now.
Yeah.
And I feel like, with the festivals going on, everything is going back full force. So, but yeah, it was definitely a big struggle. And I feel like a lot of the entertainers and artists, DJs, and people that put on events and producers were really affected by it.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel like you said you feel like it's, things kind of came back. you feel like it's sort of the same as it ever was, or is there a sense in which the event industry sort of changed forever as a result of COVID?
I think it definitely changed forever, but I would say that, not necessarily for the worse, but I have seen a big decline, I would say, since pre-COVID to today in terms of like, the venues and how busy everything is and people's willingness to want to go out. I think that people, once they stepped away from that kind of lifestyle or going out and, to the nightclubs and bars and restaurants for so long that, they may be less frequent it now when they go out.
Sure. Now, I wanted to talk about, like, we've talked about COVID, but more than COVID, sort of San Diego as a city for nightlife, as a scene for nightlife. I mean, you've been in the industry now for over a decade pretty much. So what have you observed in terms of how the nightlife scene in San Diego has changed, generally speaking? Like maybe how it's evolved, what's gotten better, maybe what hasn't worked, and sort of what you've gathered from that analysis.
Yeah, I would say that, being from San Francisco and traveling a lot, I would say San Diego, it feels like the biggest little city to me almost, where downtown is really not that big, compared to major metro cities like San Francisco, New York, Chicago, Miami, so on and so forth. But I feel like there's really a couple pillars in San Diego that like the nightlife venues that stick around long term. Like Park has been around for quite a long time, and they still are, excellent at what they do and providing amazing experiences for their customers. Oxford's been around a long time. The Hard Rock Hotel has been putting on the pool party we work with for, probably 10 plus years. So there's certain pillars I feel like that, stand the test of time, so to speak. But I feel like there's a lot of turnover with the other venues trying to compete. So I feel like it's difficult in San Diego to really, make a lasting venue that will, last for years and years and years. And I really think it speaks to the team that, puts the events on from the venue, and then, partnering with companies like us really helps them with their longevity.
Sure. Do you feel like in the future, like, and I'm sure you have to constantly look ahead, anticipate things. Yeah. Like, are there any sort of, just in terms of maybe like interaction with, state government, maybe interaction with, like the way like laws change all the time, regarding like nightlife and events and stuff, not just with COVID in terms of like the regulations, but just in general, nightlife laws evolve over time. Yeah. And nightlife, the business itself changes. Do you feel like there's any sort of changes in the future where you're looking at, where you're saying like, this is something that we're going to have to prepare for. This is something that we're going to have to be cognizant of.
Well, I think, it's a good point. I think not as much about the laws, but I think, as technology advances, I feel like so many different businesses in the world are, in fear of losing their business because technology or AI is replacing so many people in the workplace nowadays. But I do feel strongly, and I have felt strongly about this since the beginning, that the event space in general, I feel like is kind of shielded from that quite a bit because people always want to go out and be social, blow off steam from their 9-to-5s, have a good time with their friends, grab a drink somewhere. And that social interaction can't really be replaced by technology or AI. Now, given there could be apps out there that, can help implement different things in nightlife, but I really don't see anything major coming in the way of like, the music festival experience or, people want to go out to a bar for drinks or a nightclub and enjoy like a good DJ one night.
Yeah, I have to ask while we're on that point about the festivals and the DJs and stuff. I mean, in the event space, obviously you're constantly meeting these personalities, these rock stars, these hip hop artists, these DJs, these people who put on these festivals. I mean, how cool is that on a day-to-day basis? Interacting with like those kinds of personalities, getting to meet with. Was that part of like what kind of keeps you going? What kind of drives you drove you into the industry?
I would absolutely say so. It's not one of my first things I think about. I don't really get too starstruck with a lot of the artists that we have, but there's been occasions where I meet certain celebrities, like Michael Jordan. One time came to one of our events, and but Snoop Dogg we booked, and I was backstage with him. A lot of big cool artists and stuff, but it's definitely an upside and a perk of the business, but I wouldn't say it really drives me as much to like, continue doing it. I think for me is just, I enjoy putting a lot of work into events. Like my work with the festivals in the past, you put in 3 months of work for one day, right? And no one really sees the behind the scenes of how much work goes on to put on one of these festivals where 10,000 people show up to. But it's a lot of work, but it's so gratifying when you at the end of the day, you look around the crowd of 10,000 people and everyone's having a blast, and you're like, you help put that on. So
that's legit. Yeah. Well, actually, now that we're on the topic, I just thought of something. Can you tell us like I guess basically, you mentioned that, guys like Snoop Dogg and other people that you've sort of run into behind the scenes, but just for fun, can you tell us maybe a little story, a little anecdote about, maybe a time where you had an event that went really well, or, something ended up being really crazy, or something that really blew up for you guys, like, whether it was a specific event or festival, or, an artist that you had that sort of like elevated the business, and how that came about?
Yeah, back in my days with Five Group, I think it was 2017, we put on a New Year's Eve festival called Infinity, and we worked with one of the hotels in Mission Valley and rented out the entire hotel for 2 days, and we booked really big artists like Dylan Francis, G-Eazy, and a bunch of other great guys. And there's over 10,000 people coming through the doors, and it was so much work that goes into it. Plus, you're checking in all the hotel guests for the weekend, and then managing the artists getting there on time. And a lot of times in this industry, you have contracts with the artist to play, and so might show up an hour late, and kind of like there's so many things that can go wrong in the live event space. It's kind of how do you manage that and not panic? Sure. I think a lot of people like get panicked really easily, and throughout my experience doing all that for 10 years, I feel like I've really been able to take hiccups in the road well, and kind of move forward with them.
What was that? Was that probably your favorite festival that you've ever put on, or if you had to pick?
That was a great one. I think we also put on this event called Barks and Brews, which is like a charity event to help rescue dogs in San Diego. It's a great event, and but yeah, that was probably my favorite one because I love dogs, and everyone got to bring their dogs and drink beer, so that was a great time.
Hey there, San Diego. If you're on the hunt for a way to enhance your health, I have a great recommendation for you. Dorado Nutrition is a company that's all about helping people live their best lives through top-notch American-made supplements. Their expert team has crafted products to support a variety of health needs, from weight management to muscle building and more. And with ingredients like Vodosia agrestis and Tonkat Ali, praised by a well-known neurobiologist seen on the Joe Rogan podcast, these supplements could be just what you need to reach your health goals. And for a limited time, you can get 25% off your purchase by using promo code SD2023 at checkout. So if you're looking for a way to improve your health, Dorado Nutrition might just be the solution you need. That's a good one. So you mentioned Jeezy. He came to Park recently, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, what's he like? Did you get a chance to meet him? Or?
I met him at our festival at the hotel.
Yeah.
I actually had a hotel room there, and he walked by, and I talked to him for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
He's cool. He seems kind of like a bad boy image, but he seems kind of like a nice, humble person from my experience.
Yeah, that's interesting because I have like talked to people in this space before, and it seems like the image, like the celebrity image, doesn't always match the personality, which I find interesting.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just at the end of the day, it's a regular person.
Yeah.
We all eat, drink shit, and it's like, it's just a normal person at the end of the day. So I find that interesting. We had a couple guys, we had Stevie Johnson and a couple other NFL guys come on, and it's just surprises me how people in celebrity status, like, they're just people, It's just, it never ceases to amaze me. And obviously really accomplished, really talented people, like yourself. But it's like even for you, like when I first met you, I thought like, oh, this is a big personality, big deal. And then I just realized that you're a nice guy and just wanted to get to know you. So
awesome. Right back at you.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you though, what is in terms of like the future of nightlife, also like how specifically like you want to, like sort of the legacy that you want to leave with Legendary Group? Mm-hmm. I know you just started 2 months ago, but what are you trying to change about nightlife in San Diego, if anything?
I just really want to elevate, the quality of service that we bring to the venues, and the experience that the guests actually have at the venues, you know? So a lot of times in hospitality, you can put someone at the front door or somebody that's a waitress, but it's really elevating the, customer service is huge, because, Yelp's big nowadays. People go home and Yelp about everything. But if you put the right people in place and you train them the right way to give the best customer service, then you'll have return customers and have more longevity with your business. So I feel like there's, I think the venues we work with right now are really great at all that, but I think there are some venues in the city that could, benefit from a little additional training in customer service. And, whether it's the security guard at the front or the cashier or the bathroom attendant, it doesn't matter. It's just all around in-house, it has to be like top tier.
Sure. What and actually, while we're on the subject, like, can you just kind of run people who aren't familiar with what you guys do in terms of like what the weekly lineup looks like, and
absolutely.
Sort of we mentioned a few of the venues, but can you just kind of run it through?
For sure. Yeah. So right now we have 6 events a week. LGNDRY Group's a nightlife marketing and management company. We also do consulting for venues. Each venue relationship is different. Some venues want help with management operations night of the event. Some of them we do more marketing and social media, email marketing. And then we have our team of like 30 VIP marketing hosts that help promote the events, book VIP tables, send groups there, get new eyes or new bodies through the doors. And then we also work with a bunch of different high-rise complexes downtown and do specials like happy hours and so on and so forth for different venues to get new eyes and new bodies through the doors.
Sure, absolutely. So,
and then our weekly lineup right now, we do Tuesdays at Backyard in PB, and then Thursday night we do an industry night at Oxford. Friday night we do Bloom Nightclub. Saturday day we do Hard Rock Pool Party called Liquid Sunshine, and then Saturday night we do Park Nightclub, and then Sunday day we do the Pool House at the Pendry Hotel.
Pendry, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a pretty stacked lineup, especially in the summer. Pretty much you have one day turnaround on Mondays to kind of regroup and get things back together. But it really speaks to like, the way I have it set up is we have things planned out for 3 months in advance, and we're just following up on action items. So that way it kind of streamlines so you don't get overwhelmed every single Monday that you have another 6 events that week.
Yeah, and then wait, was there something Wednesday, or Wednesday's an off day?
Right now, Wednesday's an off day.
Wednesday's an off day too, okay. Any plans to change that or
no? Down the line, yeah.
Okay.
I just don't want to rush into too much too fast.
Sure.
6 events right off the bat within a month and a half was kind of a big jump, but I was confident for our team, and our production from our team has been great, so I'm really happy with it. So it makes me more confident that in a couple of months we can explore that.
Sure. I'm curious because like PB specifically, like Pacific Beach has been it's been sort of a going out place for people for a long time, you know, and some of these bars have a good amount of history to them. I talked to the owners, it's, some of them have changed ownership, but there's a good history of nightlife there. Yeah. And sort of, I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on sort of the evolution of Pacific Beach nightlife compared to downtown, and sort of how those two scenes sort of differ from each other. Yeah. Maybe like some similarities, and sort of how that's evolved over time. Yeah, so I actually used to live in PB tail end of college, and Tuesdays in PB and Thursdays used to be huge. The streets would be packed. They'd be almost busier than the weekends, right? What I've noticed now, especially since starting the Tuesdays, is the streets are empty on Tuesday nights. There's really nobody walking the streets, and I always thought that was really weird, and I feel like that COVID did have something to play with that, because I feel like prior to COVID, there were more people going out and about in PB, but I would say the younger crowd and more of the college crowd is focused in PB. And then I think more like the 25 to 35 range is more going downtown, bar hopping. I think Little Italy is a really expanding market right now with great restaurants and, really vibey bars there. So I feel like a lot of people are migrating over there as well. Sure. Any cool spots in Little Italy that have recently opened up, or? Coco Maya, some of my friends put that on over there, and it's a great venue. It's got a nice little rooftop bar. For dinner and drinks, Born and Raised is one of my favorites. My girlfriend and I love that spot. Okay. But yeah, Camino Rivera is another one that opened up not too long ago. Another great spot. So yeah, there's a lot of cool spots out there. Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you also is, I just wanted to give you a very explicit chance to promote like any upcoming festivals, any upcoming events that you guys have like queued up. I know a few of them for myself, but for the audience who's maybe not familiar, like anything really cool coming up that you want to highlight, like in particular? Yeah, so this weekend's actually Comic-Con's in San Diego, so we have a lot of cool Comic-Con after parties this weekend. There's a Comic-Con edition Hard Rock Pool Party this Saturday, so a lot of things that we do with our company is we take care of all of our guests for the most part for free for all these events, whereas they would have to pay full cover price if they didn't go through us. So we help take care of the guests through that. But big pool party at Hard Rock this Saturday. It's a great, more vibey, chill pool party on Sundays at Pool House. And then, pretty much our entire event lineup this week is gonna be pretty busy. All right. And any performers like maybe a couple months out that you can spoil for us, or not yet? So a lot of that stuff stays under wraps, right? So unless if it's announced on social media, they don't want to like
put out
put that out,
because sometimes with the artists you have to have like the contract signed, so on and so forth, and then get the flyer approved. So prior to that, it's kind of mum on there's a word on announcing the artist. But Park does have a big hip hop artist, YG, performing for Labor Day weekend. That's a couple months away, but we will have some other fun stuff in between there.
Yeah, no, I saw him last year. He was great. Have you ever met him too? What's he like?
Actually, not personally, no.
No, okay.
Yeah, he kind of keeps to his own crew.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we've talked a bit about like how you succeeded, and specifically your sort of rise to the top. But I mean, more broadly speaking, like you're an entrepreneur, you're a successful entrepreneur, and you're somebody who worked really hard to get to where you are. And we talked specifically about some of the the keys to succeeding in nightlife, but more broadly, like just for people to get to know you, I mean, like what are some of the habits, the disciplines, the steps that you take daily on a regular basis in order to be as successful as you are? And I'm asking this, for viewers. I ask this for myself because everyone wants to be successful, or most people want to be successful in their particular field. And I feel like it's not just about nightlife. It's about what it takes to succeed independently. Because I think a lot of people look at their 9-to-5s and say I think I could be doing something more. I think like I could be more than this. I think that I'm not going to be stuck in the 9-to-5 box the rest of my life. For people like that, for people who are sort of adventurous minded, like what are some of the habits, the disciplines, the practices and steps that you took that allowed you to succeed?
Yeah, so I feel like, the saying, the way you do one thing is the way you do all things, right? So being in nightlife, a lot of times our events don't end till 2, you don't get home till 3, sleep till 4. So I found myself, like my schedule was kind of getting messed up where I would be so tired if I woke up early in the morning after. So I feel like, pushing myself to waking up earlier, even though I'm out late, has been great. And like starting the morning by going to the gym. I have a membership at Fit, so I'm trying to go as much as possible.
Great gym.
And really starting the day with those kind of things, and then staying organized, And one thing that my past bosses from 5 Group really instilled in me was like, setting and creating goals. And then not just a goal, but like a roadmap of how you're gonna get there and by like what time. So I feel like a lot of times people might make an abstract goal at the beginning of the year on January 1st, and then 6 months later they look at their list and they're not even on the roadmap to do it. But I feel like what really helped me, which I learned from my mentors, was you got to create a roadmap. I feel like to set a date and a time for a goal that you want, and whether it's financial, like you want to save $30,000 in 6 months or a year or 2 years or 5 years, whatever it may be for each individual, or for this business, I'm setting goals at the end of the year, certain things, and then by 6 months into 2024, I have other goals I want to set, and kind of working on a roadmap so it's an attainable goal that I can actually make happen.
Yeah, and I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that seems like that has to be like a continuous process. It's not just like, oh, you reach the top, like you founded your company, but it's like constantly like resetting the table, resetting the goal. Like, okay, the goal's been achieved, like this accomplishment's been done, but like what's the next thing? What's the next big step? And I feel like that's sort of like what moves successful people forward, it seems.
Yeah, I feel like it was an accomplishment for me, to branch out and start my own business. Is something I want to do for a long time, but I wouldn't say, I would say if anything, the work's just begun, right? We've only been in business for 2 months, and things are going great, but I know that the sky's the limit. As much hard work I want to put into it is what I'm going to get out of it. And I feel like that's something that always really caught my eye of wanting to become an entrepreneur, is like, whether a company's great that you're working for and you're loving it, but you're still working for someone else and building someone else's dreams. And I feel like when you take that leap to become an entrepreneur and start your own business, the rise or fall of the business is on your shoulders, but all the hard work and extra hours and late nights you put in, you're really building something for yourself. And I feel like that's what really drives me, is that, and I have a team of 30 people right now that a lot of them are relying on the income from LGNDRY Group to get by. So it motivates me to help, elevate my team and, give them opportunities to grow, kind of like my past mentors did for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. By the way, a little side note is when you made the point about, how you're sort of just getting started, it reminded me of the Kobe Bryant quote in his post-game interview where he says, job's not finished.
Yeah.
But that just that sort of mentality of like, like, yes, like things have been accomplished, like great things have been done, but like constantly on the look for the new challenge, the new horizon.
Yeah.
And I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you kind of sort of have to enjoy that process. You have to enjoy that struggle. You have to enjoy that challenge in the entrepreneurial field.
Yeah. I mean, there were so many like different things. Like my dad was an entrepreneur and he owned a restaurant and catering company in San Francisco for 30 years. And, when I was in college, I started a sunglasses company with one of my friends. And, I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit, but, this was a little bit different for me and kind of like doing it on my own. And there's so many different hurdles you have to jump through and, make sure everything's by the book. And I want to make sure everything was airtight and, 100% proper for everything I was doing. And I learned so much in that span of 2 months. It's amazing to me, like looking back, like how much I learned from May 4th to today.
Yeah. And any success story such as your own, I feel like there's always mentors along the way, people who speak into you, who speak truth into you, who speak, success into you, and or at least point you in that direction. And as much as you want, are there any specific sort of maybe mentors, like figures in the past that you can allude to, like people who sort of played that pivotal role in your life from an early age?
Yeah, absolutely. Are you talking about more the past 10 years or early age?
Just any point, like people who sort of pointed you in the direction that you're in now. Like,
yeah. I'd say like, as childhood idols would be like a Michael Jordan, but I think more relative would be like mentors to me that I actually spoke with and worked with. And those would be the 5 previous owners of my 5 previous bosses from 5 Group. Chris English and Pat English were the identical twins. They own DJ Here. They're the first nightlife company I worked with when I was in college, and they really took me under their wing, learned so much. They were pretty much, DJ Here was the biggest company in San Diego in the nightlife scene, and that was amazing. And then when we formed 5 Group, all 5 owners became owners of 5 Group. I started learning from Kevin Brown, who's amazing. I'm still friends with to this day. Talk to him on a weekly basis. He really showed me a lot of different things about, how to carry yourself as a professional in the space. And Brian Thomason, who I actually live with at this time right now, he's a huge mentor to me. Learned a lot from him, and he's a great guy. And then Omid Sabet, who currently still owns 5 Group, was definitely a huge mentor to me. He's incredibly smart, very meticulous, and he's a good person, and I learned a ton from him. And pretty much the sum of all 5 of those people kind of created me, I would say.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, everyone is like sort of the effect of the people they've chosen to surround themselves with. It sounds like you surrounded yourself with the right people. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you feel as though they're like in the industry, like, and again, we've alluded to this a couple times, that it can be difficult to do that? Like to surround yourself with the right people? Yeah,
kind of like I was saying earlier, there's definitely some characters out there, and being in the nightlife scene, some people take it too far, people party too much, and you don't want to get caught up in all of that. Yeah. I think my girlfriend's actually helped ground me a lot in this space because, I go there to go to work and I don't go there to party. I'm focused on what's important. That's business. So, I'll drive to work and I'll come home earlier, whereas maybe 10 years ago I was promoting and stuff like that. I'd go out and have fun and, party more often. But, this is a business, and there's the backside that people don't see of like all the work that goes in, even for an event at Park on a Saturday night, like how many people they have on the staff and the team, from, the DJ, the ball service girls, the managers, the VIP hosts, the security guards, the bathroom attendants. There's a whole team that goes into putting on events. So there's a lot of work to be done to ensure that everyone else has a good time.
Yeah, just curious on a personal note, like how do you do it? How do you stay like focused? How do you stay sane? I mean, as you talked about earlier, like the pressure of everyone's like, livelihood, everyone's like sort of depending on you. Like that's got to create an enormous amount of mental pressure, like from the moment you wake up. And any tips or tricks or sort of how you just handle that on a regular basis?
I think you really got to believe in yourself, and especially if you're going to go off and start your own business, you have to first and foremost believe in yourself that you can do it. If you have self-doubt that you're not going to be able to do it, and then you have other people that are working for you, then you're putting them at risk as well. So I think that's where the pressure would build up. But I felt like I really came into Legendary Group extremely prepared and organized, and projections of like 3 different tiers. Okay, if this is what we make in this month, and month 2 and month 3, then this is what I can afford team-wise to have this many people on my staff, and budget it out, all that kind of stuff. And luckily our team's doing really well, so I don't have to worry about that. But there's ups and downs in the nightlife industry. The busiest time of the year is summer, so we kind of stepped into it right at the busiest time of year. But winters are typically much more difficult when you have Thanksgiving in November, you have Christmas in December, January, after everyone wants to do their New Year's resolutions, people kind of focus more on the gym than going out.
Yeah.
But I think if we really carry our momentum and do well this summer, that it'll carry over throughout the winter.
Yeah.
And then there are those events during the winter that really are big ones, are like Halloween at the end of October, and then you have New Year's Eve in December.
Yeah. Well, to the people with the New Year's resolutions, I guess our message would be, go to the gym, keep your resolutions, but go to Legendary Group and have fun.
There you go. Yeah. Everyone wants to blow off steam sometimes, so whenever you do, you can reach out to us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think like just sort of like summing it all, like and again, I keep coming back to this because I like to have sort of a positive takeaway from these episodes, and I like to share something uplifting with people. And I think like people like think of nightlife, they think of the party scene, they think of drinking, people having fun. But what I think is interesting in our conversation that I've learned is that for you, this is really, it's, yes, like there's the partying and stuff, but it's also, this is really about bringing people together.
Yeah.
And this is really about creating a space for people to be social, for people to make connections, lifelong relationships.
Yep.
So sort of for people who are, maybe like thinking about being involved in nightlife, people who are like sort of on the fringes of nightlife, like what would you tell people in terms of like the positive like sort of takeaway of this business?
Yeah, so there's so many different avenues to get involved with in nightlife. So a lot of people are interested in the music side of things. They want to be involved in booking the talent, the artists, and booking the Tiestos of the world, and that kind of stuff. Other people are more interested in being on site at the venues. Like a lot of people want to bartend at a nightclub, which is a great paying position because there's so many people in there and they tip well. Then there's the bottle service, that kind of stuff. But what we kind of do is not necessarily any of those things, but it's more of like, event production and management. So, if anyone wants, insight more to like, how do I get my foot in the door? Usually it takes connections. It's networking, right? It's like, who do you know that, you could refer somebody? Because a lot of times it's difficult if you don't know anyone that works at any of these venues, but you want to get your foot in the door. Then you're just one paper and a stack of 100 resumes, and how do you stand out? So a lot of the times it's, networking. So I would suggest, going into a venue and asking to speak with the manager and, talk with them a little bit. Or when you go out somewhere that you want to work, speak to people there and kind of chat a little bit, make yourself known with them. And then if you create a relationship, that could take you to, the possibility of being employed by them. So
yeah, life's all about relationships.
Yep.
Well, Josh, it's been so fun having you on. I did want to leave us with just, again, for people who want to check out an event, an upcoming festival, who just want to look at the weekly lineup, you can find Legendary Group online, legendarygroup.com. That's LGNDRY group.com.
Yeah.
And anything else I'm missing in the promo aspect?
Yeah, and then a lot of our events are posted on Instagram, and the Instagram is the same as the website. It's LGNDRY group. And on that note, I also brought you a little gift today.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm supposed to open it now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's a couple weeks after my birthday, but I'll accept it.
There you go. Belated B-Day.
All right.
Got you some swag, a little snapback for you.
A little hat. All right. Well, I appreciate it. I'll put that on right now.
There you go.
You know what?
You can wear however you want, buddy.
I'll do it your way.
Nice.
Yeah, Josh, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you for
having you. And hey, maybe in a few months we'll make it a part 2. So.
Awesome. Let's do it.
All right. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
That's a wrap, guys. This has been another recorded episode of Stay Classy San Diego with your host, Steve Wire. Thanks again to our sponsors, MaxLux Media at maxluxmedia.com and Dorado Nutrition at doradonutrition.com. And thanks to all of our listeners for tuning into the show. See you next time. Stay classy, San Diego.